They say what goes around comes around, but I've lived long enough to know some folks need help watching it come back. I'm Evelyn May, born in 1953 in Charleston, South Carolina. Back in 1995, when my only son brought home a girl with nowhere to go, I took her in like she was mine. I felt hope blossom in our little family, but then something happened. Today, at 72, I'm finally sharing this, because silence only protects the wrong people. If you're listening, drop your city below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell your mama to watch this too. Lila was just 16 when my son Caleb brought her around. She was soft-spoken, skin like coffee cream, and eyes always watching. I asked her once, "Where's your people, baby?" She just said, "Nowhere that matters." From the moment she stepped into our house, I knew I'd be the one filling in the gaps her mother left behind. I taught her how to make cornbread with buttermilk, how to press shirts with steam not burn, and how to use vinegar to clean up sorrow from a hardwood floor. I never called her daughter, but she acted like one. When Caleb joined the military, she stayed with me through those lonely stretches, baking, saving, helping with the church potlucks. Folks in our neighborhood even assumed she was mine. I never corrected them. By the time they got engaged 10 years later, I had spent more time with Lila than with my own son. I wasn't just helping with the wedding plans. I was paying for most of them. Caleb sent money when he could, but it was me who booked the church, me who paid the caterer, me who picked out the dress because Lila said, "You just have the eye, Miss Evelyn." I should have seen the shift sooner. First came the guest list, no room for my bridge friends or the deacons from my church. Then came the decor, everything white, gold, and minimalist. My floral suggestions? Too country. Even the venue was a stark white barn an hour out, for the aesthetic, she said. Still, I smiled through it all. I just wanted to see them happy. But a mother's patience can blind her to a daughter-in-law's ambition. The morning of the wedding, I arrived early to help set up. I wore a soft lilac lace dress, heels a bit too high for my ankles, and pinned my late husband's brooch to my chest. I was proud. Tired, but proud. Inside the bridal suite, I knocked gently. "It's me," I called. Lila opened the door halfway and looked me up and down. "You look nice," she said. But her smile didn't reach her eyes. "I brought the pearls you liked. Thought you might wear 'em as you're something borrowed." She took them, barely glanced. "Actually, could you hand those to my coordinator?" Then she leaned in and whispered, quiet enough so no one else heard, but loud enough to break me. "Could you maybe stay out of the photos? You don't really match the look we're going for. You know, the aesthetic." I stared. I thought maybe she was joking. "Excuse me. It's nothing personal," she added. "It's just, we have a theme. And it's important." Theme? I had scrubbed her tears off bathroom tiles, paid for her first car, let her sleep in my bed the week her father passed. And now I didn't match the aesthetic? I turned, quietly, closed the door behind me. I went outside and sat in my car for nearly an hour, listening to gospel music on low, praying not to burst into tears. Then I heard laughter and camera shutters. So I went back inside, holding on to the one title no one could erase, Mother of the Groom. But when I got to the front rows, I saw someone else, Lila's aunt, sitting in my place. My name card? Gone. I stood for a moment, confused. Then one of the ushers walked over, avoiding my eyes. "Miss Evelyn, we have you seated in the back near the refreshment tables." My jaw clenched. "Is this a mistake?" I think it's what the bride asked for," he muttered. I walked to the back, past strangers with sparkling wine and fake smiles, past a girl I helped raise who now pretended I was invisible. As they said their vows, I barely watched. I thought about how we let people use us in the name of love. How we teach them everything we know and they use that to walk right over us. After the ceremony, I went to say goodbye to Caleb. He looked surprised to see me. "Ma, you're leaving already?" "I've seen what I needed to," I said, pulling him in for a hug. "Congratulations." Lila walked up, too busy posing with the photographer to notice me. When she finally glanced my way, I smiled. A calm, dangerous kind of smile. "You have a beautiful wedding, Lila," I said. "May the aesthetic last longer than the marriage." Then I got in my car, peeled off those tight heels, and drove home in silence. I didn't cry. I didn't curse. I just knew something now, something solid, heavy, and unchangeable. They'd made a choice. And next time, the choice would be mine. I didn't sleep that night. The lilac dress was still laid across my armchair like it had committed a crime. My phone sat face down, silent. Not a single message from Caleb. Not even a thank you. I spent the next few weeks folding up every memory like old linen, too stained to keep, too sentimental to toss. I boxed up the wedding receipts, the dried sample flowers, even the handwritten menu drafts Lila made me help design. Not once did anyone come by to say, "We're sorry." Not Caleb. Not Lila. I heard through the grapevine that they went to Aruba for their honeymoon, posting photos of coconut drinks and staged sunsets, with captions like, "The fairy tale begins." Funny. I didn't know fairy tales started with the fairy godmother being told to clean up and sit in the back. For months, I stayed quiet. But silence is a loud thing when it's filled with questions that never get answered. One Sunday at church, Deacon Ellis came up to me and said, "Didn't see you at the reception much, Evelyn. You all right?" I nodded. Weddings are loud. I don't do loud anymore. But what I wanted to say was, they buried me at that wedding. But I'm still breathing. 3 months later, I heard they were having a second banquet, a celebration of union for friends who couldn't attend the wedding. And guess who got a paperless invite sent to the wrong email address? It was a cousin of mine who forwarded it. I clicked the link. Everything was themed in beige and blush, with gold cursive reading "Love Reimagined." The dress code said "Modern Southern Elegance," which, in Lila's words, meant no bold prints, no hats, and no dated looks. I closed the email and went about my day. I wasn't going to walk into another room just to be made invisible again. But the night before the event, something shifted. I stood in front of my closet and pulled out a deep emerald dress, floor-length, velvet, with wide sleeves that made me feel like I ruled something ancient. My neighbor, Miss Tilda, helped curl my hair. I put on my late husband's brooch again. Pearls too. Why not? I didn't go to be seen. I went to be remembered. The banquet was held at a fancy hotel ballroom downtown, gold chandeliers, white roses everywhere, and music so soft it made you question if joy was even allowed. When I walked in, the room hushed like someone had turned down the volume. I didn't wait to be seated. I walked straight to the front, smiled at the coordinator, and said, "I'm Evelyn May, the groom's mother." She blinked. "I don't have you on the..." "You do now," I said, and sat myself at an empty seat beside the groom's cake. It was chocolate. His favorite. My recipe. Caleb's eyes found me from across the room. His jaw tightened, like guilt was swelling behind his teeth. Lila looked stunned, like a ghost from the past had wandered into her curated present. I didn't speak first. They did. Caleb came over, hands in his pockets, trying to look casual. "Ma, I didn't think you'd come." I looked up, calm. "You didn't invite me." He looked down. That was Lila's idea. Of course it was. Lila approached moments later, draped in champagne silk and the kind of smile that doesn't touch the soul. Evelyn. I didn't expect you, she said, voice tight. I tend to show up where I'm supposed to be, I replied. She blinked, then leaned in. You look festive. I dress for respect, even if I have to bring it myself. She flinched, just slightly, then turned and walked away like I'd passed no more than wind. The speeches began. Her mother spoke about sacrifice. Her friends toasted to love. Caleb stood and thanked everyone for being part of their journey. No mention of me. Not once. I stood anyway. Cleared my throat. People turned. I won't take much time, I said. Just wanted to say that true love is about who feeds you when you're hungry, listens when you're wrong, and stays when you're ugly. I looked right at Lila. Love isn't a photo shoot. It's a ministry. Then I sat down and let the room simmer. By dessert, I was done. I stood up quietly and started walking out. Caleb followed me. Ma, wait. I turned. Why'd you come? I stared at him. My baby boy, grown now, confused. To remind you I'm still here, I said. Because next time y'all try to write me out, you better use permanent ink. He nodded slowly, shame crawling up his neck. I kissed his cheek and walked out. The night air hit me like a benediction. And from that day forward, I chose distance like a blessing. No calls. No texts. No birthdays or baby showers if they ever came. I gave them what they asked for, absence. But deep down, I knew life has a way of circling back. When you mock the hands that fed you, one day you go hungry. The silence was deep and long like a forgotten well. 3 years. That's how long it had been since I last heard my son's voice. No Thanksgiving grace. No birthday cards. Not even a Merry Christmas text. At first, I waited. I'd sit on the porch, rocking gently, glancing at every car that passed like it might be him. But they never stopped. Time wore down my hope like rain on stone. I started filling my days. Church on Sundays. Gardening on Tuesdays. Volunteering down at the community center with Miss Tilda and the other widow women. I even taught a little cooking class on Saturdays for single mothers. I smiled. I laughed. But grief has a way of hiding inside joy. Like smoke in your clothes after a fire you didn't start. Some folks said I was stubborn. He's your only son, they'd whisper. Yes, my only son. But even a mother has a limit. Love is not a blank check. Especially when it's used to fund your own disappearance. The first time I heard Lila's name again, it came from Sister Jeanette's mouth after service. Did you hear? She said, eyes wide and gossipy. Lila and Caleb lost that big house over in Mount Pleasant. Rumor is, he got laid off from that software job, and she tried to flip some interior business, but ran it dry. I blinked. I hadn't heard. They moved into her cousin's garage for a bit. Then something happened. No one really knows. But I heard she left him. That night, I sat on my back porch, tea steaming in my cup. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel revenge. I felt confirmation. Some folks learn through wisdom. Others, through walls falling down around them. It was spring when I heard the knock. I was peeling apples in the kitchen. My hands froze mid-slice. It was a Wednesday. Rain tapping on the windows. Nobody ever visited me on a Wednesday. I walked slowly to the door, wiping my hands on my apron. Opened it. And there she stood. Lila. Not polished. Not powdered. Hair tied up in a limp scarf. A coat that looked 2 sizes too big. Eyes red, face pale. Like a woman who had met herself in the mirror, and finally didn't look away. "Miss Evelyn," she said, voice cracking. My chest tightened. She hadn't called me that in years. "Lila," I said. "No more. No less." "I didn't know where else to go," she said. "Where's Caleb?" Her lip quivered. "Gone. Moved in with someone else. Said I was too much." I raised an eyebrow. She gave a bitter laugh. "He said I changed. But I think I just became the person I always hid." She paused. "I was wrong. About the wedding. About everything. I just wanted things to look perfect. I didn't realize I was throwing away what was real." The rain started coming down harder. I didn't move. Then she said it. The line that nearly broke me. "I made you feel like a maid, when you were the only mother I ever had." I swallowed hard. The ache came back. The ache of years lost, of photos without me, of tables I set, but was never allowed to sit at. "I ain't mad no more, Lila," I said. "But you broke something in me. And some things don't glue back the same." She nodded. "I don't expect anything. I didn't know where else to go. I have nothing." I looked her over. Thin. Tired. Hollow. This wasn't the Lila who smiled in gold cursive on wedding programs. This was the girl I once found crying in my pantry the first week she moved in, scared of being sent away. So I did what grandmothers do. I opened the screen door. "You hungry?" She burst into tears. We sat in silence while she ate. I made cornbread, greens, and stewed chicken like it was Sunday. She kept her eyes down the whole time, like the plate might reject her if she looked up. "Do you remember when we used to do Bible study?" I asked quietly. She nodded. "You always said God don't play favorites. Just fair." "That's right. And he don't owe us comfort when we chase vanity." She nodded again, biting her lip. I watched her, part of me aching and part of me boiling. How many years had she erased me? How many family photos would never be printed with my face in them? But I also saw the bruised edges of a girl who'd finally been humbled. And that was something. "I need a job," she said after the dishes were done. "I can clean, or cook, or—" I raised a hand. "You don't work here, Lila. And you don't stay for free. If I take you in, there are rules." "Anything," she said quickly. "No lies. No ego. No chasing aesthetic. Just life. Plain and sacred." She nodded, eyes welling again. "And you speak my name. You don't whisper it when it's convenient. You say it with respect, even when it's hard." "Yes, ma'am," she said. "Good. Then you can stay. For now." That night, I heard her crying in the guest room. Not loud. Just soft, worn weeping. I didn't go in. Some reckonings have to happen between a person and their God. But I did smile. Not from cruelty. From peace. Because sometimes, the greatest revenge is living long enough to see pride return home hungry and humble. Lila stayed. Not just for a week. Not just until the rain passed. She stayed for good. At first, she was quiet, almost ghost-like. She'd rise before me, clean the kitchen without being asked, fold laundry that wasn't hers, even sweep the porch twice just to make sure it was done right. I didn't stop her. Let her work. Let her sit in the silence she helped build. The town talked, of course. "Isn't that Caleb's ex? She living with Evelyn May now?" She sure did come down from that high horse. But I didn't entertain gossip. I was busy watching. Watching to see if she meant her apology or if it was just survival. After about a month, I saw a shift. She began asking things. Simple questions, but heavy with meaning. Can I come to church with you this Sunday? Will you show me how you make your deviled eggs? Can I help with your Saturday classes? It wasn't overnight. But slowly, steadily, she stitched herself back into the fabric of this house, not as a bride, not as a guest, but as a woman unlearning her mistakes. One evening, we sat on the porch. She brought out 2 glasses of sweet tea. Her hands didn't shake anymore when she served me. Miss Evelyn, she began, then stopped. I know I can't undo the past. And I'm not trying to. Good, I said. Because you can't. She chuckled nervously. But I want you to know, the way I treated you on that wedding day. You made me feel disposable, I said, finishing for her. She nodded. I sipped my tea, eyes on the peach tree across the yard. Then I looked at her. Really looked. Lila, I said, you wanted the world to see you as something polished. Curated. But when you polish too hard, you scrape off the people who got you there. Her eyes filled. I know that now. And you used me. My money. My kindness. My history. I did, she whispered. And yet, I let you back in. She nodded. So what do you think that makes me? She swallowed. Stronger than me. I shook my head. No, baby. Just older. Pain ages you faster than time ever will. That fall, I brought her to the church's women's retreat. Some of the ladies gave her side eyes. One whispered, "Ain't that the girl who?" I cut them off with one glance. Lila is with me, I said. And that's the end of it. By winter, she was helping me run the kitchen at the center. She didn't just serve meals, she sat and talked with folks, listened, remembered names. Real work. Heart work. The same people who once pitted me for being erased were now watching as I rebuilt a daughter, not the one I wanted, but the one life handed back. Then came the phone call. Late January. I was watching Wheel of Fortune when the landline rang. Lila answered it in the hallway. Her voice dropped. Caleb. I didn't move. Just listened. Her tone stiffened. No, I'm not interested in dinner. Pause. No, I don't think Miss Evelyn wants to speak with you either. She hung up. Walked slowly into the room. He said he's sorry. I raised an eyebrow. He said he wants to make things right. With who? I asked. You? Me? Or just his own conscience? She sat beside me. I told him forgiveness has to be earned. I turned to her. And do you believe that now? She nodded. Every day. By spring, we planted new flowers out front. She built a small herb garden by the side of the house. Started journaling, too, every morning, with coffee and sunlight. One day, she showed me a page. It read, "Some tables you flip. Others you rebuild. But you always remember who let you eat when you were starving." That's when I knew. She'd tasted her own bitterness. And turned it sweet. Then one Sunday, during service, Pastor Jenkins asked if anyone wanted to testify. Lila stood. "Most of y'all know who I am," she said. "Some of you probably judged Miss Evelyn when she let me back in." She paused. "But grace isn't about who deserves it. It's about who's willing to give it. And she gave it to me, when she had every right to slam the door." The room was quiet. Some folks wiped tears. "I broke this woman's heart," Lila continued. "But she taught me that redemption doesn't come wrapped in apologies. It comes wrapped in work." She sat down. My hand found hers. And in that moment, I didn't feel broken. I felt full. Months passed. Lila moved into her own apartment 2 streets down. She still came over every Sunday for dinner. We baked together, gardened together, laughed until our stomachs ached. One Sunday, she brought a young girl with her. "This is Ava," she said softly. "I'm fostering her. Just for a while." The girl was thin, with wary eyes. But when she tasted my peach cobbler, she smiled. I looked at Lila. "You sure?" She nodded. "I want to give her what I had here." And just like that, the cycle changed. The damage stopped. The healing started. Not perfect, but real. If you're still listening, here's what I'll say. Don't beg to be loved where you've been discarded. Don't shrink yourself to fit someone else's frame. And when the world tries to erase you, write your name in permanent ink. Grace is powerful, but boundaries are holy. I never got an apology that matched the hurt. But I got something better, a daughter who finally saw me. So go ahead. Like this video if it spoke to you. Subscribe if you've ever rebuilt your table from scratch. Share this with someone who's learning the hard way. And comment below, "I won't shrink for no one." Let's remind them. Some of us were never disposable. Just misjudged. But now, we've reclaimed our place at the table. Moral lesson. Be slow to give up on people, but quicker to protect your peace. Grace heals, but only when it's met with humility and change.